On the eve of Thanksgiving, 1971, a man purchased a one-way ticket on Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 from Portland to Seattle. He paid cash, giving the name Dan Cooper. He was unremarkable in appearance. Dark suit, white shirt, black tie, and a neatly folded rain slicker over his arm. Little did anyone know, this ordinary-looking passenger was about to etch his name into the annals of American crime history, becoming the subject of one of the most enduring unsolved mysteries of our time. At 3:15 p.m., the Boeing 727, a workhorse of the skies, lifted off from Portland International Airport. Aboard were 36 passengers and a crew of 6. Among them, in seat 18C, sat Dan Cooper. Shortly after takeoff, as the plane cruised northward at 10,000 feet, Cooper summoned flight attendant Florence Schaffner. "Miss, I believe you should look at this." He handed her a note. Schaffner, accustomed to business travelers attempting to flirt, simply tucked it into her purse. "Sir, if you have something to tell me, you should just say it." "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Schaffner's blood ran cold. She retrieved the note and read the chilling message, scrawled in neat, block letters. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want $200,000 in negotiable American currency. I want 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve. When we land, I want a fuel truck standing by to refuel the aircraft. No funny stuff, or I'll blow us all to kingdom come." Trembling, Schaffner discreetly informed the pilot, Captain William Scott. The captain immediately relayed the dire news to air traffic control. The FBI was notified. This wasn't a joke or a drunk passenger. This was a professional. For the next few hours, a tense standoff unfolded. Cooper, remarkably calm and polite, outlined his demands. He ordered the flight crew to stay calm and assure the passengers everything would be fine. He even ordered a bourbon and soda, paying for it with cash. He conversed casually with Schaffner, pointing out landmarks below, his demeanor unervingly serene given the gravity of the situation. He opened his briefcase just enough for Schaffner to glimpse what appeared to be red dynamite sticks and a tangle of wires. As the plane circled over Puget Sound, the authorities scrambled. FBI agents, local police, and airline officials worked feverishly to meet Cooper's demands. The money was collected from various banks, the parachutes sourced from a local skydiving school. The FBI made sure the money was unmarked, but each bill's serial number was recorded. At 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 touched down at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. The tarmac was eerily quiet, save for the hum of the waiting fuel truck and the flashing lights of unseen emergency vehicles in the distance. Cooper's demands were met. The $200,000 and the 4 parachutes were delivered to the plane. Cooper then released the 36 passengers and 2 flight attendants, Florence Schaffner and Tina Mucklow, who had been on the flight's original leg. He kept Captain Scott, First Officer Radizak, Flight Engineer Anderson, and Flight Attendant Mucklow. "Now, for the next phase of our journey, I want you to take off again. Fly south-southeast at no more than 10,000 feet, with the landing gear down and the wing flaps at 15 degrees. Maintain a speed of about 150 knots, and no cabin pressurization." These specific instructions were crucial. The low altitude, slow speed, and unpressurized cabin were all conditions designed for one purpose: a safe exit. Cooper was planning to jump. Sound of jet engines spooling up, a sense of foreboding. At 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 took off once more, heading into the dark, stormy night. 2 F-106 fighter jets from nearby McChord Air Force Base, along with a Lockheed T-33 training jet, shadowed the hijacked plane, their pilots ordered to maintain a discreet distance. Inside the 727, Cooper, ever the calm professional, secured a parachute to himself. He instructed Mucklow on how to open the rear air stairs, the integral stairway that drops down from the tail of the Boeing 727. "Sir, the stairs are open." "Thank you, Mississippi. Now go to the cockpit and stay there. Do not come out." Mucklow, terrified but obeying, retreated to the cockpit, closing the door behind her. The last anyone saw of D.B. Cooper was his silhouette against the dark, stormy sky, standing at the top of the air stairs, before he vanished into the tempest. The pilots in the shadowing fighter jets saw nothing. The radar indicated a single aircraft. Cooper was gone. The 727 landed safely in Reno, Nevada, at 10:15 p.m. FBI agents swarmed the plane, finding nothing but 2 of the 4 parachutes, Cooper's black tie, and 8 Kent cigarette butts. Cooper himself, along with the $200,000 and 2 parachutes, had vanished without a trace. The ensuing manhunt was unprecedented. Thousands of agents scoured the rugged terrain below Flight 305's flight path, focusing on a dense, heavily forested area in southwestern Washington, near Lake Merwin. They searched for months, then years, but found no sign of Cooper, no trace of the money, no torn parachute, no body. The FBI theorized that Cooper, despite his meticulous planning, might not have survived the jump. The conditions were treacherous. High winds, sub-zero temperatures, and a parachute jump into dense, unforgiving wilderness at night. Over the decades, the case of D.B. Cooper became a cultural phenomenon, inspiring books, films, and countless theories. Was he a seasoned paratrooper, a disgruntled airline employee, or simply a desperate man driven to an audacious act? A glimmer of hope, or perhaps just another twist in the tale, emerged in 1980. 8-year-old Brian Ingram was picnicking with his family near the Columbia River, a few miles from Cooper's suspected drop zone. While digging in the sand, he unearthed 3 packets of $20 bills, heavily deteriorated but clearly from the ransom money. The serial numbers matched the FBI's list. This discovery, nicknamed the Tina Bar find, after the sandbar where it was located, raised more questions than it answered. How did the money get there? Was it dropped directly, or did it float downstream from Cooper's landing site? If it floated, where was the rest of it? And more importantly, where was Cooper? The FBI continued to investigate, pursuing thousands of leads and interviewing countless suspects. They developed a profile of Cooper, likely in his mid-40s, experienced in skydiving, and possessing detailed knowledge of the Boeing 727. Yet, none of the leads ever led to a definitive identification. In 2016, after 45 years, the FBI officially suspended its active investigation into the D.B. Cooper case, citing a lack of new credible leads. However, they continue to accept tips and evidence should new information emerge. The case remains open, filed as unresolved. D.B. Cooper remains the only unsolved skyjacking in American history. His audacious escape, his meticulous planning, and his complete disappearance have cemented his place in legend. Was he a brilliant criminal who pulled off the perfect heist and vanished into obscurity? Or did he perish in the harsh wilderness, his final act a desperate gamble against the elements? The identity of D.B. Cooper and his ultimate fate are secrets held only by the dark, stormy skies over the Pacific Northwest, and perhaps the quiet currents of the Columbia River. And so, the mystery endures, a testament to the skyjacker who vanished, leaving behind nothing but a chilling tale and an enduring question. Who was D.B. Cooper? Years, the case of D.B. Cooper was a cold trail, a riddle without an answer. But in the decades that followed, a parade of potential suspects emerged, each with a theory, an alibi, or a tantalizing connection to the mysterious skyjacker. The FBI, while officially closing its active investigation, left the case file open, an invitation for a breakthrough that might one day arrive. One of the most compelling suspects was a man named Richard Floyd McCoy, Jr., a Vietnam veteran and avid skydiver. Just 5 months after the Cooper hijacking, McCoy executed a strikingly similar crime. He hijacked a Boeing 727, demanded a ransom, and parachuted from the plane. The resemblance was uncanny, and for many, McCoy was the man. However, the FBI ruled him out, citing a lack of physical resemblance to the flight attendant's descriptions and a solid alibi. McCoy was serving a prison sentence when he was killed in a shootout with law enforcement after an escape, taking his secrets with him. But to this day, many amateur sleuths and some investigators remain convinced he was the one. Another figure who caught the attention of investigators was Robert Rackstraw, a military veteran with a troubled past and extensive parachute training. Rackstraw was a plausible suspect, with a history of brushes with the law and a cryptic, at times boastful, attitude about the hijacking. He was initially dismissed as a suspect, but in the years before his death in 2019, he made cryptic comments that only fueled the speculation. And then there was Kenneth Christiansen, a former Northwest Airlines purser who had extensive knowledge of the Boeing 727. His brother believed he was D.B. Cooper and told the FBI that Christiansen had purchased a house with cash a year after the hijacking. Christiansen, a former paratrooper, died in 1994, taking any potential answers to the grave with him. The search for D.B. Cooper has continued to evolve. In 2011, a new piece of evidence was analyzed: the tie that Cooper left on the plane. Scientific analysis of microscopic particles on the tie revealed a mix of titanium and other rare earth metals, suggesting he worked in an aerospace or electronics manufacturing environment. This new clue has opened a new avenue for investigation and has led to a new wave of theorizing about Cooper's identity. As a result of this new evidence, amateur investigators and forensic scientists continue to analyze the clues left behind, hoping to finally crack the case. It is a mystery that has captivated the public for generations, becoming a part of American folklore. The case of D.B. Cooper represents not only a brilliant act of defiance against the system, but also a tantalizing puzzle that refuses to be solved. What happened to D.B. Cooper? Did he survive the jump into the cold, dark, and unforgiving wilderness, or did he perish, his body and the remaining ransom money lost to the elements forever? The fact that the rest of the ransom money has never been found suggests that Cooper may not have survived to enjoy his fortune. But the legend of D.B. Cooper lives on, fueled by every new theory, every rediscovered piece of evidence, and the enduring fascination with the audacious man in the suit and tie who simply disappeared. His story serves as a reminder that some of the greatest mysteries are not found in fiction, but in the annals of true crime, where the truth remains stubbornly out of reach. And so, the story of D.B. Cooper is not just a tale of a single crime, but of a nation's enduring fascination with a ghost. The case fundamentally changed the world of air travel. Before the D.B. Cooper skyjacking, airline security was minimal, almost non-existent. Passengers could walk directly to their gate with no metal detectors, no bag screenings. Cooper's escape proved that this vulnerability was a gaping chink in the armor of commercial aviation. In the wake of the hijacking, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, mandated that all airlines screen passengers and their carry-on luggage. This was the birth of the airport security we know today, a direct and lasting legacy of one man's daring gamble in the sky. It was a societal transformation, a sacrifice of convenience for the promise of safety, all thanks to a man known only as D.B. Cooper. But the story's resonance goes far beyond changes in policy. Captured the public imagination. In the 1970s, at a time of deep disillusionment with government and authority, Cooper became an unlikely folk hero. He was a man who pulled off a perfect crime, outsmarting the system, the FBI, and the elements, and in doing so, he became a symbol of individual defiance against a faceless corporation. The simple fact that he disappeared, that the money was never spent, and that he was never caught fueled this legend. The Cooper mystery is a living puzzle. It's a case file that has been picked apart, analyzed, and reanalyzed by generations of detectives, reporters, and armchair sleuths. Every new piece of information, from the discovery of the Tina bar cache to the titanium on the tie, sends ripples through the online communities and newsrooms dedicated to solving the riddle. What became of the man who called himself Dan Cooper? Did he survive? The frigid night, the high winds, the unforgiving landscape of the Pacific Northwest. The odds were stacked against him. Many believe the jump was a death sentence. The discovery of a mere fraction of the ransom money years later could be a final clue to a body that will never be found, swallowed by the dense forest or swept away by the river. Yet, the other half of the legend persists. The idea that Cooper was a master of his craft, a man who planned his escape to the last detail, and simply melted back into the shadows of society, living out his life in quiet luxury somewhere far from the scrutiny of the FBI. Perhaps he walks among us, an ordinary man with an extraordinary secret, the greatest criminal of his time. The case of D.B. Cooper is a mirror. It reflects our own desires for adventure, for defiance, and for the kind of mystery that Hollywood screenwriters could only dream of. The Skyjacker who vanished is more than a true crime story. He is a phantom, a whisper on the wind, a permanent and compelling question mark in the fabric of American history.